This is the Candid Minicast. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Before I go any further with this minicast, I want to make it very clear that you're never supposed to speak ill of the dead, so I'm not going to do that either. Of course, I am fully aware that the Mamba Mentality was bred from the late, great Hall of Fame NBA player Kobe Bryant and his approach to basketball and seemingly life in general. But this kind of mentality has been around long before Kobe Bryant played in the NBA. It really started with another Hall of Fame NBA player and most people's basketball GOAT, Michael Jordan. But this mentality just didn't have an official name to it until Kobe Bryant came along and gained the nickname the Black Mamba because of how ruthless he was on the court, which in turn spawned the Mamba Mentality that we all know of and refer to today. And for those of you out there who don't know what in the blue hell I'm speaking of, the Mamba Mentality is a mindset popularized by Kobe Bryant, which focused on relentless improvement, hard work, and a deep passion for one's craft. It's about constantly striving to be the best version of yourself, both physically and mentally. This involves a dedication to the process of improvement, trusting in the work put in, and maintaining a fearless, resilient attitude. As I said at the beginning, I'm not going to make this a mini cast where I talk about or trash the late Kobe Bryant, but I am going to discuss how his Mamba Mentality has transcended the sport of basketball and made its way into mainstream society, where it's, unfortunately, further contributing to the downfall of our culture. This mindset has produced a bunch of weak-minded people who blindly worship, quote, live by, and celebrate all the D-baggery that the Mamba Mentality now represents. It absolutely blows my mind how now, more than ever, people are complaining about how cold-hearted, selfish, and morally deficient the world has become, yet we continue to lift up the very people and principles that keep dragging our society even further into the cesspool that it's rapidly becoming. And as usual, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who are going to call me weak and proclaim that I just don't have what it takes to succeed. And also, as usual, I don't care what you all say about me. Anyone who's ever decided to break away from the pack, so to speak, and use their own brain to think for themselves has always been ridiculed and shamed. So I'm not the first person who you'll do this to, and I definitely won't be the last. The only thing that I can guarantee is that I'll be the one who cares the least. So what exactly are my issues with the Mamba Mentality? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I was just about to get to that. My biggest issue with the Mamba Mentality is the complete lack of morals now associated with it. This is something that could easily be broken down into many other subcategories, but for the sake of time, I'm keeping it fairly generic. And keeping with my theme of not speaking ill of the deceased, I'll use Michael Jordan for this example, because he was technically the originator or godfather of the Mamba Mentality anyway. Michael Jordan is famously known as being one of the most ruthless and heartless competitors of all time. He's punched teammates, stopped speaking to best friends who've criticized him, used the most minute of things as fuel that someone slighted him. He's never been charitable or even kind for that matter, and he's never really cared about anyone or anything but himself and winning. And And because MJ won, and won a lot, this kind of behavior has not only been celebrated, but mimicked and copied by others like Kobe Bryant, and now the lemmings living in our mainstream society. Players operating under the Mamba mentality are literally the type of people who would send their own mothers out of the game with a concussion if she got in their way on the field, court, pitch, or whatever the hell playing surface you're on. And while I don't condone that kind of mentality even in sports, it's even worse when it bleeds over into society. Given the dangerously rapid rise in hustle culture, where you have to get yours no matter the cost, I've seen more and more people adopting this Mamba mentality, where they have zero issue morally with screwing over their own family members, best friends, wives, partners, etc., in order to get whatever they want in life. Basically, the end justifies the means. I mean, MJ and others were ruthless in their pursuit of greatness, and it got them championships. So that makes it okay, right? Wrong. I vehemently disagree with that. This earth seems to keep losing more of its morals and sanity with every damn rotation it makes. So imagine if more and more people continue to adopt the Mamba mentality in their everyday lives. We're going to be headed for total chaos where nobody can trust anyone, and the value of a human life will be next to nothing. Look, I get it. Life in general is essentially a sport that we're all playing and trying to win. But that doesn't mean that winning at all costs is the solution either. There are plenty of great players in every sport that have won championships without having to become cold-hearted, ruthless bastards. And there are also plenty of people in life that have become wildly successful without having to resort to that kind of behavior as well. The problem is that we don't celebrate and glorify those kinds of people like we do the Michael Jordans. And I would say that I don't understand why, but I do. Not only is it easier, but it also looks and sounds so much cooler to behave like some D-bag alpha male who just takes what he wants when he wants over the guy who actually lives his life with some damn integrity. And therein lies the problem. People keep wondering what's happening to this world while worshiping the very cause of the problem at the exact same time. Life is not war. It's not your life versus someone else's. So I gotta do what I gotta do to survive. You know what I mean? That Mamba mentality. Go sit your ass down somewhere and shut up, you clown. Being so morally deficient that you're willing to step on others and do whatever you have to do at all costs to get what you want is not a flex, and it's not something to be admired or celebrated. You should be ashamed of the heartless piece of garbage you've become, repent, and go pray your rosary beads a few hundred times to get back on track. Bottom line is that I personally hate what the Mamba mentality has come to represent in our society now. Life is more win at all costs right now than it's ever been in the past. And it seems like every other time I hear someone justifying cold-heartedness and D-baggery, the words Mamba mentality are usually mentioned somewhere along the way. My other major issue with the Mamba mentality is twofold. One being that it has extended a sports mentality over to the real world, which is a problem in and of itself. But it's also making failure something that's completely unacceptable, like ever. And that's toxic and dangerous as hell. I've somewhat touched on this first point a little bit already, but I'm going to expand on it a little bit. I've already stated that I'm not a fan of the Mamba mentality, even in sports, but it does make sense that's where this mentality started because of the extremely high stakes and low opportunity model that sports operate under. But in daily life, applying the same cutthroat and competitive mindset can be extremely destructive to not only yourself, but the people around you as well. If you're the kind of person who must win all the time and views every single thing in life as a personal challenge or attack, you're putting yourself at risk of alienating people and becoming that guy who no one wants to be around. And I'm not necessarily just talking about casual events like bowling or axe throwing with friends, although that's certainly applicable there as well. I'm talking about carrying this mindset over to your workplace, where you view your peers as your competition. I dealt with this exact scenario at a previous job where a person in a similar position was constantly all up in my mix, trying to outdo me all the time, show that he was better than I was, and even talking about me behind my back because he was so obsessed with having to get ahead of me. Meanwhile, I was legitimately going about my way and minding my own damn business. I literally could have cared less about what he was doing. My main focus was coming to work every day and trying to be the best at my job that I could be. And that was it. But Mr. Mamba Mentality was the complete opposite. And his mindset ended up making for a very awkward and sometimes contentious work environment where our team was never as cohesive as it could have been because this guy always viewed me as competition and kept doing shady things to try and undermine my career. And this is a great example of where the Mamba mentality could end up biting you in the ass later on. I ended up moving on from this job, and about a year or so later, they went through some pretty healthy rounds of layoffs, to which Mr. Mamba mentality was affected. Well, I mosey on over to my LinkedIn page one day and see a message along with a friend request from this guy. He was reaching out to me trying to connect to help build his professional network and also wondering if I knew of any job openings. Before I could even finish reading this message, I had already made up my mind that I was rejecting his friend request and not responding to him because I remembered how he was trying to crap all over me at our last job so that he could gain favor and get positions before I did. See, the Mamba mentality is all cute and sexy when you're in control or on the way up. But when the shoe is on the other foot, people remember how you treated them because of your win at all costs attitude. And it could very well end up hurting you at a time when you need help the most. It's like the old saying goes, the same people you step on the way up are the same people you meet on the way down. A couple minutes ago, I also mentioned that making failure something that's completely unacceptable is my other issue with the Mamba mentality. Life is about failure. There's not a person walking this earth that has succeeded at every single thing they tried. Even the great, wildly successful basketball GOAT Michael Jordan failed at baseball. He only made it to the AA level for one season, and his career batting average was a whopping .202, which is, let's move on. The Mamba mentality does not guarantee success in life. And a former friend and I often used to say that we really felt that people like Michael Jordan believed that anyone could have done what he did while playing basketball, but that we just weren't working hard enough and we were satisfied with being a failure, so we quit instead. No, that's not quite how it works, sir. You were born 6 foot 6 inches tall with a damn 42-inch plus vertical and insane athleticism. Sure, you absolutely had to put in a ton of work in the gym and grind to refine your skills. But life, along with these minor insignificant things we call genetics, also gave you a major head start on your pro basketball journey as well. Anyway, back to my original point, I hear a lot of people living by the Mamba mentality refuse to take failure at something as an option or a sign that something isn't for you, and instead go to extreme measures just to consider themselves successful by society's pressure-packed and inflated standards. Now, let me be clear here that I am not saying that failing is okay or that you should always give up on something, because that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm referring to a lot of times is the people who want to be outwardly wealthy or have an excess of cars, money, and things. These people may start a business or get a high-paying job to try and attain those things. But let's say the business fails to take off, or you get laid off from that high-paying job. Instead of this person accepting that temporary failure or setback, pivoting, and learning or moving on from it, they instead consider themselves a failure at life as a whole because of what the world considers success these days. And this is a prime example of where I can highlight some people adopting the Mamba mentality and resorting to tactics or things that may be damaging or hurtful to others just because the person who failed at something now has to win at all costs. This social media age we live in does not help with this either. We no longer differentiate between being a failure at something and being a failure at life. A failure is a failure. So if you're not making $500K a year like some 25-year-old YouTuber who got lucky is, then you're a failure at life and you ain't grinding hard enough. So you got to get your Mamba mentality on, or risk being a worthless bum at the ripe old age of 26. It may sound ridiculous, but OnlyFools isn't rising in popularity because it's helping save the world. It's actually quite the opposite of that. OnlyFools is rising in popularity because it's the win at all costs way for women to make great money and be successful the quickest and easiest way possible, by selling their bodies. The damage done along the way to loved ones, current relationships, future relationships, and even potential children matters not. You got what you wanted by any means necessary, and that's all that matters these days. To wrap things up, I hope that people understand the point of this mini-cast. I'm not blaming the Mamba mentality for things like OnlyFools or all the bad that's going on in the world. I'm just saying this mentality has contributed to the win at all costs and not care about who gets hurt in the process state of the world right now. I'm also just trying to highlight the fact that the more I talk to people, the more I keep hearing how much this world looks up to and worships athletes, celebrities, and entertainers who seem to celebrate the Mamba mentality as the gold standard on how to accomplish things in life. And I just don't agree with that. Yes, in order to become great or accomplish great things in life, there will always be a huge level of sacrifice, dedication, hustle, perseverance, and grit required. But those things don't have to involve treating other people like garbage or having a win at all costs mentality that disregards or hurts others in the process. If you're one of those people who keeps complaining that the world just ain't what it used to be, then maybe you should take a look at the kind of people you look up to and how they're behaving to see if you may be celebrating the very kind of person that's contributing to the world being exactly how it is right now. As always, if you're listening in on YouTube, I appreciate a like, a subscribe, or you leaving a comment. I'm continuing to try to bring you great content, and I hope that you enjoy the kind of podcast that I'm bringing to you. Thanks for listening in. I will catch you on the next one.